For those of you from the community, Dr. Parker is the gold medal winner for his competition, and since it has played with all the major orchestras and conductors all over the world, he is also known for his ability to make music live for people, and so we're really excited to see what he has to offer to our students. So we're going to start with Heeseung Lee, who will play the Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto, the first movement, and
for which apparently I volunteered to be the Lubbock Philharmonic today. The Texas Tech Philharmonic with no rehearsal. Who's playing? You're playing. Okay, great. You have a score, right?
Yeah. At least in the music, yeah.
Let's see. I would love a volunteer page turner. Any student who's interested in following the notes of Rock 3, grab a chair. Thank you. Appreciate it. By the way, for those of you who were even remotely torn about what event to participate in today, we are apparently winning.
But just barely.
Only by 1 minute.
I know, that's not enough.
Just play the tempo. Just change it. In so many ways, you know, I mean, not just the obvious ways, but lots of not so obvious ways. Occasionally, I'm thinking, when the music's really big, I feel like you're completely involved with the shape of the music and the direction of the music, and I feel most of the time very convinced. When the music is either less dense or dynamically softer, I feel sometimes a little less convinced that there's a strong sense of direction or even just that something's in relief. You know, it's very difficult to play. I mean, you talk to any pianist who regularly performs this piece, and they will all admit under duress that they never practice the first two pages, right? Because those are the only two easy pages in the whole piece. But you really have to remember in that it's one thing to start with obviously a somewhat internal, but it's a very different thing when you have there's so much inside that needs to come through a little more. And I think that's where I feel like you're maybe not sure what to do because it's sparse. You know, there isn't a technical challenge, but there is something very important musically happening, and it maybe isn't as starkly different from other parts of the movement as you think. It's still very, very involved, right? So I would urge you, like even just from, can you take it from where it restarts again there? Yeah, just do it again. And but I think that should be like your whole body is playing that G. You know, I mean, if we use our arms and our back for strength, we can also use it for strength of purpose when you're really not even playing that loud. But I think that should be more involved. Try it again from here. And thank you, that's great. So a little more of that throughout these first couple of pages, okay? As much as you can. I love that the film also was excellent. This is just about the hardest page in the whole concerto, isn't it? Like it's as hard as anything, and it comes so early. And you played it really, really well. Be very conscious in this concerto of when you've got little, tiny, short ideas, and then when you've got long lines. I mean, obviously that's a long line, right? But when you've got this kind of thing, each one of those should, like a little fireworks spark, you know? And then, and feel like that becomes something longer, and then you've got the sparks, you know? Practice this page, and I'm saying this with the hope that you will have the opportunity to play this with orchestra. Practice this page at about 5 different tempos, and be comfortable with all of them. Because this is a very, very difficult page for a conductor and pianist to actually end up together. And you might be the one adjusting, so be ready, okay? It's a very tricky page for that. Within your playing, if you have 2 or 3 things going on at once, which is very common in Rachmaninoff, make sure, for the most part, I mean, I don't want to be overly simplistic, but a lot of the time, a certain type of overly simplistic voicing can be really helpful for the listener. Because it's so thick. There's so much going on. And here, everybody's going to hear, you're going to hear that in the orchestra, and then you really need to sort of take over. So that we're not hearing just a whole lot of 16th notes. Because it is a whole lot of 16th notes. And so it's like if you were to look at, I mean, if you look at a Greek temple and you see the frieze on top, the sort of the big triangle on top, and you see not exactly a sculpture, but what's called relief, where something is, you know, it comes 3-dimensionally out of the background texture, but it's not totally separate, right? And it's that kind of relief playing that you want to try to find as often as possible in this, so that lines come through, you know, and we're not just always hearing a wash of notes. I mean, of course there are places where we should hear a wash of notes, and that's part of what makes Rachmaninoff great. Brilliant, that was fabulous. But always look for an opportunity for one phrase to talk to another, you know, when you have that's a, you know, still a statement, and then that's a reaction, and then this, another reaction, and then kind of giving up, right? It sounded a little too much like, you know, you were sort of doing a diminuendo, but I'd like it to sound more like each one of those meant something. I won't make you play all that again, that was fabulous, and you got it the first time, so don't risk doing it again. Start from there, okay? And still a little bit stronger, okay? A little bit, you know, it's a little too fast because I'm not hearing the topography. So it's kind of an interesting shape. It's a little bit like neurotic, you know, because it keeps going up and down. You know, I like to hear all of that. So think of it more melodically as you play it. Try it again. Yeah. Okay, so this one goes up to the A, this one only goes up to the F. So play it again and make me really hear that you went to the A, and then the second time you kind of only made it to the F. Okay? Good. Yeah. Excellent. And the whole thing takes on a kind of a meaning, right? And it's a lot more than a diminuendo. Okay? You played a very beautiful second theme. This was all brilliant. You might want to think, with all the tempo changes, a little bit in terms of, I mean, almost how would you conduct it? I think with concertos, and actually with most solo pieces too, but certainly with concertos, it's always very helpful to look at it from a conductor's perspective. Like, how would you conduct it? When would you be conducting in 4? When would you be conducting in 2? Does that affect how you feel the progression of notes? And should a bar really feel like it has 4 beats or only 2? Like, for example, I personally, and this is not necessarily right or wrong, but I always feel like this has got 4 beats in a bar. I mean, I really hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, you know, all that stuff. And then suddenly hear 1, 2, 1. To me, that feels like it's in 2. And I think conductors generally would conduct it that way. And then actually you have an allegro here, which is also very clearly in 2. So think a little bit about that as you play. Like, just try it and see if that makes any sense to you at all. I don't know where you can start in here. Is there anywhere here that you can start up there? Bad place. Okay. Here? You can start there. Actually. There's a real sense, I think, of those lines seem to really go over the bar line and then stop. Right? Try that again. Slightly, maybe do that poco più mosso a little more if you can. Excellent, great, okay. And that's more difficult. Okay, very important. The più vivo bit. It's a sort of a Rachmaninoff trademark. I mean, this isn't true in all of Rachmaninoff, obviously, but more so than many other composers, Rachmaninoff writes phrases where rather than going to a note, you start and play away from the note. And it's very common in Rachmaninoff, and if he doesn't think it's obvious, he'll make it obvious by the way he's marked it. And it's clearly unconventional because the obvious, that just seems so natural to do, but he really wants, I would even make, you know, a little tenuto in each one. It's really meant to be something different. And he does it all the way through here, and then you'll notice, right here where he marks forte, those lines switch to the beat. And then it's suddenly that everything that's been a little off blocks. Okay? Can you try that for me, just right from now? It feels very weird to really do it. Our ears want to hear the heaviness in the wrong place, you know. We have to work harder to make us hear. If possible, the one part of this movement I think should actually go faster is this. Okay? I mean, this is officially in 2, right? It's actually, he actually writes out a la breath. And it's also harmonically a little more static. It's that kind of Rachmaninoff that plateaus in one place and normal harmonic progression going anywhere. He's just kind of teetering on something chromatic. So it doesn't really bear particularly slow tempo because there isn't so much going on. Anyway, so I would, you know, if you can, those are not as hard as, they sound harder than they are. And then, try to make those work. And then this becomes, am curious why you're bringing the right hand out so much, to the point that I really don't hear the left hand, where I actually think that the meaning of the harmony is in there. It seems like the harmony, all that, it's all there in the left hand. And if you bring out the right hand so much, you are bringing out that from the last movement, right? That's the music sort of happening in there. But I feel like I'm missing a harmonic basis that takes us up, that takes us back into D minor. So maybe consider a little more of that, okay? In the big stuff, in the cadenza, which you're playing really, really well, you should feel free to be absolutely out of context of what a normal retard would be. I mean, when you see retard and veloce and accelerando and rubato and everything in a cadenza, that comes with a lot more freedom than when you see those markings in the main body of the movement. You know, and so when you get to, you know, that's a humongous moment, and you played it very well, but it went by too quickly, and I didn't feel like I got what a big moment it was. And it's a massive place. Can you get it from there, maybe? Really, really great. Housekeeping, that's an A natural. Okay? Yeah. Sounds really good. Don't lose your melodic profile on the last page. You know, it really, that's what we should be hearing. We don't need to hear all that stuff. You know, it's all there and it all contributes, but one of the hardest things about Rachmaninoff is you go to all that trouble to learn all those notes, and then you actually have to hide about 3/4 of it or more. And that feels so bad to do that when you work so hard. But you know, you have to do that. So think voicing as much as you can. Okay, voicing, pacing, and you're doing great. Thank you very much. Thank you.